Hi, my name is Marjay Roberts. Welcome to Google. I'm an advertising strategist in SMB sales. I'm here honored and excited to be hosting producer Will Packer at Google here in our Mountain View office. We're here to talk about his new comedy premiering on NBC called Truth Be Told. So I'll give some accolades because you got a lot here. So I'll run down a list a little bit.
Give a lot. Don't give a little.
I'll give a lot then.
Take your time on the accolades part. Don't sell me short.
I won't at all. I won't at all. Producer Will Packer has established himself as one of Hollywood's box office hit makers with several of his films opening #1 at the box office, including Stomp the Yard, Ride Along, Think Like a Man, and most recently my favorite, Straight Outta Compton. He currently develops under his new projects under his company, Will Packer Productions. He was a founder of the Atlanta-based Rainforest Films and is a co-founder of Bounce TV, a broadcast network geared towards the African-American households. In 2014, he became one of the only African-American producers to have 7 films debut at #1 during opening weekend. So that's no small feat, of course.
Thank you.
I could go on, but you guys probably have seen a lot of Will Packer produced films, box office hits like Takers, This Christmas, Obsessed, No Good Deed, and The Wedding Ringer. Will has continued to expand the boundaries of what filmmakers can achieve in creating a viable space for content that speaks to a diverse community. So among Will's many projects, Will is here to talk to us about his NBC comedy Truth Be Told, premiering October 16th, starring Paul Gosselaar, Tone Bell, Vanessa Lachey, and Bresha, Webb. The new series is about 2 diverse couples and best friend neighbors living life. They talk about all topics, not off limits, from race to sex to children, and they basically keep it real.
Not necessarily all related together.
Oh, no, not together.
The order you said it in felt weird, but that's all right. Keep going.
No problem. And basically, they keep it real on the subject matter they cover, so it's a really cool show. So with that, I wanted to welcome Will Packer to Google today.
Glad to be here. Absolutely. What's up?
Cool. So, welcome to Google. I'm from Atlanta too, so I'm really excited to be hosting you.
We have Google in Atlanta.
Nice. Yes.
How long have you been here with Google?
I've been here for about 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like it?
I do.
Answer correctly now. I figure a lot of Google people are watching.
It's a great company.
There you go.
Awesome.
You're welcome. I gave you that one. That's called a layup.
Right. Thank you. Now, a group of Googlers had a chance to watch Truth Be Told yesterday. We really all liked it. And wanted to kind of start off by asking, can you tell us a little bit about Truth Be Told and where the title came from?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, it's a show on NBC. It's a sitcom. And premieres October 16th. And it's about these 2 couples. And Paul Gosselaar plays our character Mitch, and he's married to a wonderful woman who happens to be of Asian descent, played by Vanessa Lachey. Mm-hmm. His best friend is played by Tone Bell, who happens to be a black guy who's married to a black woman named Bresha Webb. And I keep bringing up the races of everybody because it's kind of organic to the show, the fact that it's diverse. It's not one of these shows that is diverse for diversity's sake or because somebody said, you know what, we need like somebody of color. Let's put a black dude in this role or put an Asian guy in that role. It literally is based on the creator, DJ Nash's life. And in his real life, his wife is Asian and his best friend is black. And oftentimes in his core group of friends, he's the only white dude. He told me that story and I loved it. I was like, wait a minute, you're the only white guy in your friend circle? I love that. Welcome to my world. Now you see how it feels. You're the minority.
Exactly.
And it gives them such an interesting perspective because in our show, we have this group of friends, and they all bring, their own preconceived notions and perceptions and upbringings to the various topics that we discuss on the show, and we see it all play out. The title, Truth Be Told, is kind of really appropriate because in real life, when you interact, and of course, this is Google, so you guys know, everybody now is connected. And we're connected in ways that we weren't, 10 years ago. And so you're interacting with people that are completely outside your particular demographic. I don't care if it's like, people that live around you look like you, worship or believe in the things you believe in. Like, you're talking to everybody on any given day through social media and various networks. So it means that when you are on those social networks, oftentimes you're brutally honest. And when somebody says, okay, truth be told, you just prepare yourself because whatever comes next is going to be brutally honest. It's not going to be filtered, and that's how we interact with real people. And so that's an appropriate title for our show because this is a group of 4 actual real friends who organically talk about things in an unfiltered kind of way, the way that real people do.
Yeah, I definitely like that. So What shaped your interest in doing a TV project? I know you started a lot in film. What kind of attracted you to TV?
I love TV because it's a different connection with audiences that you're able to foster. So, with the feature film, even the greatest feature film, you go in and it's a, hour and a half, 2 hour plus experience. And for the most part, it can stay with you, but when you leave the theater, you've left that film in the theater. And until you, do another version of it, you do a sequel or you revisit it, for the most part, that content is meant to be encapsulated in that period of time and be over. Whereas with television, you are intended to invest in these characters over the long term. I really like that. As a creative filmmaker, I like the idea of being a part of a process that creates characters that allows viewers to take the journey over and over again. So obviously the television landscape is changing rapidly now, and the way people consume television is changing, but people still look for that organic investment with real characters, people that they can really, get to know and really get invested in.
Agreed, definitely. So in the first episode, you cover a lot of subject matter. You cover the N-word, you cover unconscious bias, choosing babysitters and making sure they're not porn stars.
Yeah, there's that, absolutely. Yeah. Always essential.
Exactly. Can you give us a hit about other topics that will be covered throughout the season?
Yeah, the fun of the show is that you take a really close-knit group of friends who talk about things that real friends talk about and don't have to filter them. So on the show, there's things from when do you talk to your kids about religion? On our show, you have one couple that is kind of like devout Christian and the other couple who is anything but. And the daughter comes back from school and asks a question about what is God and who is God and what does he or she look like. And the couples have fun with their own perspectives on that. There's a lot of talk about things that, like you talked about unconscious bias. Well, there is an episode where our character, played by Tone Bell, who's the black guy, thinks that a restaurant owner is racist. And he thinks that an incident has happened that was biased against him because he was black. Then he comes out and he's so mad about it. And it turns out the guy really wasn't racist, but our white guy, Mitch, is kind of caught in a how do I tell my black best friend that it wasn't racist when he really, really thinks it was, but he was wrong, and I don't want to come off the wrong way. Sure. So it's kind of like, well, I think, no, damn it, he's racist, okay? You're going to back me, right? White guy, white guilt, white privilege, right? And what's the white guy going to say in that moment? Exactly. So it's kind of fun to have those kind of some awkward, some poignant, but always provocative and always real subjects.
Definitely. So you mentioned there's a clear example of unconscious bias at the beginning with in the pilot with the valet kind of expressing something related to unconscious bias. And here at Google, we do a lot of training, and it's a big initiative here on training and highlighting and recognizing unconscious bias in the workplace. So it sounds like that was... Is there a lot
of unconscious bias at Google?
I mean, there's a lot of unconscious bias everywhere, I think.
That's a good answer. You're absolutely right.
So it's definitely something that we really have to recognize so that we can actually change it.
And oftentimes, by the very definition of it, it's not intentional.
Exactly. Not at all.
So, like you were referencing the pilot, in our pilot episode, it's something as simple. First of all, the Mitch character played by Mark Paul Gosselaar is somebody who, and we all kind of know somebody like this, he has this never-ending quest to make everything right in the world. And he wants everything to be fair and everybody to be treated fairly. And if he thinks something is wrong, he's got to stand up for justice. And he's got this need for that. He can't turn it off. And sometimes it's great, it's always well-intentioned, and sometimes it ends horribly. And in the pilot episode, as simple as the guy's coming out of a restaurant and they ask for their car from valet. Now, Russell, the black guy, has driven, and it's a nice Porsche that pulls up, and the valet immediately gives the keys to Mitch. And Mitch goes, why did you give the keys to me? I know why you did. You did because you didn't think that this black guy was driving this fancy car, and I have a problem with that. I'm going to stand up for it. And Russell's going, dude, it's not that serious. It's a valet stand. It's not Selma. Let's just go and get in the car. And literally, Mitch will not let it go, and the valet guy says, no, I actually didn't give you the keys because I didn't think the black guy could drive the car. I gave you the keys because there's a John Mayer CD playing in the car. And Mitch goes, you're absolutely right. That was my CD, and this is his car, but you're right. Exactly. Either way, whether it was because he thought he had some preconceived notion about the type of car that a black dude would drive, or the type of music that a black guy might listen to, there is a little bit of an unconscious bias there, and it affects us in everything we do. You know, race is just a part of us. It's just a part of, you know, us as humans and the way we relate and interact with each other. So this is a good opportunity to bring some levity to it. Obviously, there have been some really, really heavy and serious situations around race that have happened very, very recently in our country and around the world. But I think that if you can talk about it and bring some levity to it, the important thing is that the conversation is happening. So when you tell me that Google's having those conversations about unconscious bias, I applaud that tremendously, because the first key is talking about it. If we're not talking about it, if it's something we're pretending like it doesn't exist, that we're sweeping under the rug, all we're doing is fostering things that ultimately could be negative.
Definitely agree.
That was a good answer. We should stop right now, because that's the best I got. It's downhill from here, guys. Just go tell you.
No, I definitely agree. That's one thing I loved about it, is that, you know, it makes the show a lot more accessible when you can talk about these uncomfortable topics in a way that brings some humor into it, and it makes it just more comfortable and starting the dialogue. So definitely thank you for that. So Tone Bell, he is a stand-up comedian in real life, also an actor. So was that part of his character Russell's role, or did you guys add that in when you cast Tone?
No, what's interesting is that the character was already written as a stand-up. And so Tone Bell, the actor that plays Russell brilliantly, is also a stand-up. That made him fit the role perfectly. Absolutely. There wasn't a lot that we needed to do to shape the role around the actor, which you do sometimes, because in this instance, the actor really, really fit the role. Yeah. He really kind of has a lot of the, he's a loose guy, he's a liberal guy, he's a fun-loving guy, you know, and he happens to be a stand-up, and him being a stand-up and being out on the road and having to like interact with different audiences and make them laugh, it affects his worldview. And so that's in real life Tone, and that's also the character Russell. The thing I'll say about this cast is that each of the characters, they hadn't worked together before. Tone Bell and Bresha Webb, who do play a married couple, knew each other. Okay. They did have a camaraderie prior to the show, but there is an organic, authentic camaraderie and chemistry amongst these four that you can see when you watch the show. Definitely. And literally, it's not just about, and I've been fortunate to have produced a lot of content, and oftentimes, when you yell cut, that's it. These actors, you know, I don't care if they're playing husband and wife, if they're in an intimate bedroom scene, cut, get away from me, all right? Where's my coffee and my latte? I don't want to talk to you until it's time to roll. These actors actually genuinely are a family. They're tight-knit, and they really, really genuinely get along, and they have a great chemistry, and they hang out outside of the set. And I bring that up because these days, authentic content is really what is resonating with audiences, things that feel real, whether it's a world or a character or a perspective that you can relate to directly or not. If it feels like it's really authentic, if it feels like it's something that's very natural and not manufactured by some Hollywood, you know, writer, producer, director, audiences resonate towards that. They're attracted to that kind of content. And so it's really good that we've got a foursome that is actually organically has great chemistry.
Definitely. So speaking of chemistry and everything that happens on the set, do you have any funny bloopers or anything that's happened on the set since you started?
You know, there's a story that I wouldn't otherwise tell, but I'll tell it because she has told it herself. When Vanessa Lachey, who is a completely elegant and classy woman.
Disclaimer.
Yes, absolutely. She stepped away from the set and started doing what she calls the fart dance. And she literally starts doing this dance, and the name is apropos, and she is away and thinks nobody is watching because she's trying to, you know, I don't know, scoot it out. And what she didn't know is that the entire cast and crew are now stopped and watching her do her fart dance over there. And so now she has to explain what it is and what she was doing, and that's how it came out, and that's how we knew what she was doing. So I can't think of much more embarrassing than being caught passing gas in front of a whole crew full of people.
I think that takes the cake for sure. Definitely. I love Mitch. You were mentioning Paul Gosselaar.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome.
Who played Zach Morris on Saved by the Bell.
Yes, he did.
Remember?
Yes.
Favorite. So, as you were mentioning, he kind of reminds you of that socially conscious guy that everyone knows or is friends with that really wants to make sure that they're instilling or projecting fairness and justice around them and everyone around them.
That's right.
where do you think Mitch gets this heightened sense of consciousness from, or justice from?
Well, two things. Number one, the character of Mitch is an ethics professor, and so he spends a lot of time talking about and studying ethics and morality and studying the difference between right and wrong, the black and white, and the gray areas. It also is based on our creator, DJ Nash's actual life, and he is somebody that's like that. He's somebody that he likes to say that out of this foursome, the fifth character on the show is Mitch's white guilt. Okay. And that is very much, it's very appropriate for our creator, DJ Nash, because he is, in a great, fun, and lovable way, somebody that always wants to make sure that he's not part of the problem and that he's doing everything he can to be a part of the solution, whatever that may be. So he instills that in the writing of our Mitch character. And it's really fun to have that kind of guy opposite somebody like Russell, who has fun pushing his white guilt buttons every chance that he gets.
Definitely. I agree. There's a scene where they're listening to I think a Jay-Z song in the car, and there's an N-word that comes up and kind of what happens with that. So that was really funny.
It's great. I mean, it's Empire State of Mind by Jay-Z, who was kind enough to license the song to us. Really appreciate that. And Mitch, they're heading to a Jay-Z concert, and Mitch is so proud that he has learned all the words to the Jay-Z verse of Empire State of Mind. I mean, he is like, oh my God, you got to hear me do it. And he's rapping it, and of course, Jay-Z drops the N-word, every other verse. And so when he gets to the N-word, and he's so ready to say it, that's when Russell steps in, cuts off, no, what are you doing? No, you don't do that. And Mitch, but I learned it, but you should hear me say it. I don't pronounce the E-R, like I do it like Jay-Z, and he's like, no, you can't. So in the episode, he then forces Mitch to only sing the Alicia Keys part, which turns out much more disastrous.
Yeah, it's not good. Definitely. So, we hear a lot of dialogue in the news and in our community that diversity in actors and seeing people of diversity on TV is really important in our community today. And I think we forget a lot of times that the people in the background it's just as important for them to be diverse as well, because they are the decision makers. So how does that impact you? Do you agree, or do you think that's fair, that it's really important to have that diversity and sitting at the table?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, diversity is important for a couple of reasons. Not only because it's the right thing to do, just to be, kind of upfront and blatant about it, but also because it makes good business sense. That's what America looks like now. It does not look like just one monolithic group. America looks like, how the world looks, diverse, and various races and ethnicities and cultural backgrounds and sexual orientations. And so if you're going to make content for the broadest possible audience, you need to represent that audience. So that's something that's very important. When you talk about behind the scenes, people like myself, you're right. Obviously, I'm going to have a different level of sensitivity about diversity, perhaps than some of my white counterparts. Doesn't mean that we both can't push it in the same way, but it is important to have diversity in front and behind the camera, because it informs the decisions that you make. And so in order to have great shows that are organically diverse, again, not just let's cast, a person of color because we need to meet some quota, but actual themes and subject matters that are organic to a diverse cast, then you have to have people that really understand and have a perspective. It also makes the content better, because if, you and I like something, could be good, but I don't know. You've only got a very small sample. But if this entire room likes it, the chances of it being good are even better. And so the more diverse voices that you have weighing in on the type of content that you're making, the better chance you have of that content being better.
For sure, definitely agree.
That was my second best answer, guys. You want to cut it?
Clap for that
keep
one,
going?
too.
Yeah, Boom Man in the back is like, yeah, bro, you're downhill from here. I'm with you.
Definitely. So, movies, TV. What are some of the similarities and differences for you in producing on both sides?
It's all about creating content. The process is different, very different actually, in terms of creating in the different mediums. But at the end of the day, it's about characters, stories, richness, doing it well in a quality way, and finding an audience for it. That's really what it's about. So whether it's, for the big screen, for the small screen, for, the digital medium, doesn't really matter. For me, it's about what are the stories we're trying to tell, what are the characters we're trying to create, and who wants to see those characters, who will relate or who will be attracted to those characters and those stories. That's really the key for me.
Definitely. Cool. So you're based in Atlanta, and you started a lot of your productions in Atlanta,
yes.
Which has become one of the fastest growing production hubs in the U.S.,
really.
With all the tax incentives in the state. What is it like producing in Atlanta, and how do you like it?
Atlanta's great. I mean, it's obviously, we're here at a global company, and, the world now is completely connected. Sure. And so no matter where you produce the content, ultimately distribution has changed, and no matter where you are, where it's produced, you can get access to content. So a lot of times the decisions about where to make the content are driven by creative and by fiscal. So ultimately, Atlanta's a great market that's been very smart. The state of Georgia has put tax incentives in place. It was my home market even before those tax incentives were in place. I like it because it has a lot of different looks. So as a creative person, you can shoot something that can be very metropolitan, also very rural. It's southern, but yet because it has so many transplants, it has a flavor that feels very diverse, not just southern. So I like it for personal reasons because I like that kind of diversity and I like that kind of, cultural melting pot that Atlanta is. But for business reasons, it is now, at the forefront of one of the most efficient places to shoot. And other, studios and producers are following suit. And that's how it kind of works in my business is that, where the tax incentives are, you build it, they will come. You put a tax incentive in place, whoever's got the highest percentage, you will find your favorite shows and movies and other content, documentaries, whatever it is, being shot in those markets.
I heard in a BT Genius Talks interview you did with Boris Kojo, I think last year, you mentioned that if newcomers want Hollywood to pay attention to them, they really have to start making their own content and starting to make money on that content.
Right.
That reminded me a lot of our YouTube creators and how they're using limited resources to build up a subscribership and fan base.
Yes.
So how big do you think technology has played in helping creators get their work out there? And how different was that for you when you first started?
Technology is huge. It affects, everything that we do, but you can't overstate the impact of technology on the film and television business. So in every aspect, at every level, I don't care if you're talking about a, $150 million tentpole production or a $2 million indie, the way that content is created now is affected by the technology level that we're at right now. So for me, I love it because what it has done, it has removed some of the barriers that were there for young artists who want to get into the movie business. Because now, when I first started, I had to shoot my first film on film. I had to go out and actually buy celluloid to shoot my film, 16 millimeters, what we shot it on, Super 16 actually, thank you very much. And we shot the film, we had to edit it, and we didn't have digital capabilities at that time. Now you can shoot a movie, a complete movie, on your cell phone, on your smartphone, absolutely. So, on your Android smartphone, by the way. So I love that because now you can go out and you don't have to go to one of the gatekeepers to say, will you give me a ton of resources in order to create my content? And if it's good enough, and if people want to see it, and they will go and follow you on YouTube and click it, and you have a bunch of views, Hollywood will pay attention. Hollywood, by its very nature, is a reactive industry. It's not very proactive, unfortunately. It's reactive. And so you have an opportunity to get Hollywood's attention because those barriers aren't there. You can go out with very, very limited resources. And if you're good, if you're creative, if you know how to market it, you know how to find an audience, Hollywood will find you and say, help us to exploit you. That's what they will do. But ultimately, it gets your content out to a wider audience.
Yeah. Definitely. So you already gave us a little bit of advice for budding producers. Do you have any other words of encouragement for content creators and producers out here there trying to get their name
Go out and do it.
Yeah.
Go out and that's my thing now. Go out, like don't use the excuse of, well, I haven't gotten to a particular level or I don't have enough resource. Like, go out and do it. Inevitably, the more you do, the better you will get. And so what I always tell young people interested in getting into the business is don't wait for somebody like me or anybody else to come and ordain you and give you a shot and say, here's a big Hollywood budget. Just go out and do it. Go out and start shooting. Your first stuff is probably going to be bad, but that's okay. Get that out of your system and get to the good stuff, you know? But I think that because people that are really ambitious and go-getters and really passionate and driven about it now, because there are so many avenues to be able to create your own stuff, and in distribution outlets. There are more, cable and on-demand outlets and digital outlets and channels online to put your content on and have it seen by a wide audience than there ever were before. So if you're hungry and you're really serious about doing it, there is an opportunity there. So now that the excuses are removed, you have a lot more people that are creating content. So now the cream has arisen to the top. You have to figure out how to make your content good enough that people will notice it, because there's a lot of content out there. So now it challenges you as a filmmaker, as an actor, as a writer, as a director, to stand out and be better than some of the peers out there that are just throwing stuff at the wall.
Definitely, cool. Great, so we're gonna start taking a few audience questions, so you can definitely go and line up in the middle there. But before that, I wanted to ask you what inspired you to get into filmmaking. I know some of you may not know that you graduated from FAMU with an electrical engineering degree.
I did, yes.
So that resonates here at Google. But how did you leap from engineering to film?
I never had a passion for engineering, no offense to present company, but for me, I was strong in technology and math and science coming into college, and I got a scholarship to pursue that, and there was a push at that time, not unsimilar to how it is now, to increase minority graduates in technical fields. And so I got a scholarship that encouraged me to go and to get a degree in electrical engineering. And along the way, I hooked up with a buddy, a lifelong friend of mine named Rob Hardy, and he wanted to be a director. That's all he wanted to do. He was like, I want to be a movie director. That wasn't my particular passion, but I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so I helped him to make his first movie. And after we made it, I was able to get distribution, hustle it into theaters locally. Ultimately, I helped him get the actors, the financing, the distribution, and then do that again with another small project. And later I learned, well, that's what a producer basically does. You go and get financing for projects and create it. So I kind of stumbled into being a movie producer. It wasn't something that I checked the box when you're trying to figure out what your career is going to be as a teenager or a college student. But we were able to make it successful. We took a little small movie and made a little bit of money. And I said, you know what, this is my entrepreneurial endeavor right here. This is a business model. I'm going to go and I'm going to do this movie producer thing. And kind of learned, on the job, never went to film school, trial by fire, making a lot of mistakes, doing a lot of things wrong, but ultimately hustled until I got to the point where my content actually was good enough for, people to see it and a lot of people to see it at this point.
Definitely. Well, congratulations on that success.
Thank you.
So what are you most proud of Truth Be Told, and I would love to learn more about any future projects that work going on.
But truth be told, I'm proud of the fact that it's organically diverse. It's not something that is a show that's diverse for diverse sake. It's like a show about real people, and it pushes the envelope. It's provocative, but not in an offensive way. It's fun. It's light, and I like that. And I think that the timing is right for that kind of show on television, and I think that audiences who tune in and watch it will fall in love with these characters. I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be a part of it.
Definitely. Congrats. Great. So we'll take a few Q&A from the audience.
So first I would like to say welcome, Rattler.
Oh, thank you. Sam, you in the house.
Also Double E.
Love that.
Probably the same scholarship program and also not an engineer anymore.
I love it. When did you come out?
I came out in 2000, so my contemporaries would be people like John Brown, Joe Carroll. I was on Senate with him, Reggie Harrison, that whole crew.
Absolutely. Wow, what a small world.
He's actually a manager on my team.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I love it.
So I've been watching your work ever since.
We should just keep the combo between us. This is
right, exactly.
completely irrelevant to everybody in the room and everybody. I have no idea what we're talking about, but that's awesome.
That'll be lunch.
Yeah.
So I've been watching your work since, Chocolate City at Tops, Twa.
Yeah.
Interested in I know that like the journey that you've gone through, and I've been watching for probably, what is it now?
Hold on, Chocolate City was my first movie. I know that you might be a little lost.
Yeah.
When I was a student at FAMU, Florida A&M, I did a little small movie, that $20,000 movie. It's called Chocolate City. It was a movie about college life as we knew it. Horrible little movie, but it started a pretty nice career. All right,
and we all had to watch it in the orientation, right?
Yeah.
So on this journey, I know that there's a lot of personal development behind the success that people see outwardly. I'm just interested in knowing what is probably some of the biggest, I guess, personal challenges that you've had to grow through in order to be able to look at the Will Packer that was then to the person that we see now before us.
That's an excellent question. For me, my personal growth has all been around learning the work-life balance because, when I get the opportunity to come and have talks like this and talk to people, it is always about the success that I've had as a film producer, television producer, and the projects that I have and what's coming up. But what really, really defines me is family. Because if you ask me who I am, I'm going to say I'm a father and a husband first, who also happens to work in Hollywood. So for me, that balance, my foundation is very strong and it allows me to go out and do the work that I do in a very, very challenging, competitive field because I've got that great family foundation. And so as I have grown personally, the maturity to really understand and grasp that work-life balance has been immense in terms of giving me a leg up even on some of my peers who don't have that.
First, thank you for spending some time with us. I know you're very busy.
I thought you were going to say you were from FAMU, and I was going to say, this is a setup. This whole room is fake. None of you people work at Google. What is this? Is this an intervention? What's going on? No.
Not quite, but I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what pressure, if any, you feel as one of a handful of producers that can push content through the Hollywood machine featuring predominantly African-American actors or themes? Because I know the two aren't always the same, but what pressure, if any, you feel? I'm wondering if you could talk about that.
You know what? First of all, when you say handful, it's a small hand. I'm going to be honest with you. There are not many African-American producers that are fortunate enough to produce on the level that I have been fortunate enough to produce on. I see it as an opportunity because right now I am one of very few voices, and so I always want to be the person, the parable, I guess, is the shoe salesman who goes into the land of no shoes. I don't know, people look at me crazy. So their story is that there were two shoe salesmen, and one went to this faraway town and came back to the shoe company and said, oh, this is horrible, we can't go into this town. They don't know what a shoe is, they don't wear shoes, move on. And then the second salesman went to the same town and came back and said, oh my God, this is perfect, unlimited potential for growth. We can take it over and start our whole marketing machine here. And so we saw an opportunity there. So for me, I see an opportunity if I'm the only one in the room that's doing a particular type of content. But I know that's going to change. And I know that if I do it well, it would open the door because, as I said earlier, Hollywood is reactive. And so you will have people that will say, give me more of insert successful content here. Give me more movies and TV shows like insert successful producers content there, So for me, I see it as a responsibility, but also an opportunity. And I know it will change. It will, So, but it's right now, I'm definitely enjoying the ride because it allows me to take risks. Because the expectations are still not extremely high for content that is that's diverse. It's changing though. It's changing because you look at the top shows on television and the top movies in the theaters. For the last, there was a run of 5 weeks. It started with Straight Outta Compton, where the #1 movie in the country featured African American leads for 5 weeks in a row. And then, of course, the #1 show on television right now is Empire. So it says something about and those aren't just, black audiences that are watching those shows. So it says something about where the country is in terms of the type of content they're willing to embrace.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. So one question I did want to ask about
Yeah.
that I'm excited about is you are producing the remake of Roots. And
I am.
I'm hearing about Uncle Buck, which
Yes.
was a remake. Originally, Mike Epps is playing it originally. John Candy.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about those. Can you tell us a little bit, sneak peek about that, or?
Sure, yeah. Well, two very different projects, obviously, Uncle Buck and Roots. So I don't see a mashup coming
Not at
anytime
all.
soon.
Not at all.
Uncle Buck is an interesting project because, like you said, it's revered in a lot of circles.
Yeah.
You know, the
It's a
great
cult
John
classic.
Candy. It's a cult classic. Nobody will ever be John Candy, and we didn't approach it with an eye towards replacing John Candy or doing the same show, the same movie as a TV show. We looked at the theme, the heart of what that was about, and we made it our own.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got an amazing team of creators that have put a show together around the super talented comedian Mike Epps.
Mm-hmm.
And it follows that same formula that was in Uncle Buck, but it's a very different show. And it's something I'm excited about because I think it's the type of show that will resonate with audiences today because it's real. It's like, you know, families today are not just, you know, the traditional families of 80s television. They look a lot different. And this is a family that looks a lot different. And then with Roots, you know, that is something that I'm really, really proud of. I'm proud to be a part of it. It's obviously a tremendous undertaking that I don't take lightly. You know, remaking an iconic classic, you know, the most watched television series in television history. It is something that I'm doing because I know there's an entire generation of youth that have not seen it. And it deserves a contemporary retelling. So we've got an amazing team, amazing actors, amazing directors, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to it. At this point, I wanted to play rapid fire with you. We do this sometimes on Talks at Google, so I'm going to throw a few one or the other questions at you, and you just
This is
pick
where
the
it goes
first
off
one.
the rails.
Here we go. Here we
Heavy
go.
editing in this part of the show, people. All right.
Okay. So, LA or New York?
For what? I don't see. That's why I'm bad. I'm already messing up with this because immediately different things came to visit, to work, to like
Anything,
run
anything.
from the law. What are we? I'm gonna go
To
LA.
visit. LA. Okay.
Yes.
Truth or dare?
Dare.
Dare. Early riser or night owl?
Night owl.
Since you live in Georgia, UGA or Georgia Tech? Careful.
UGA.
Yes. Good answer. Good answer. Go Dogs. Spring or fall?
Spring.
Okay. Salty or sweet?
A little both.
Okay. Martin or Fresh Prince?
Oh my gosh, Martin.
Okay.
Martin.
Coffee or tea?
T.
SWV or TLC?
Oh wow. TLC.
Okay, there we go. Well done.
Woo!
Cool.
All right.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Will, for coming.
Thank
to
you for
Google.
having me. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to visit us.
Thank you, Google. Can we talk about my search engine? I'd love it so that when you just look up pretty much anything, my face pops up. I don't know who we,
It's
if somebody in
supposed to
this
look up
room can, or when you
talk to the
Google
tech
me, Denzel and Idris, 50% of the time, their photos pop up next to mine. Can we,
We'll
I
try
don't know.
I'll set up a meeting.
That's not a yes. I'd like while we're on camera to get you to say,
yes.
I'll
It's
talk
a
to
yes.
somebody. Don't worry about it. I'll wander around these halls. Security is tight here, by the way.
It is.
We have an amazing guy, Dana, who's here. I got to give her a shout out. And I tried to go to the bathroom without Dana. It didn't work out so well. Dana was like, you don't want to do that. I was like, it's Google. Like, what? She was like, you don't want to do that. So I didn't do it. I'm going to listen to Dana. Y'all are serious around here.
Very cool. So I did want to mention, so Viola Davis during her historic Emmy win last month.
I was there. I was there in person.
Yeah,
It's so awesome
that's
to see.
amazing. She made a comment that the only thing that separates women of color from anyone else is opportunity. And she went on to thank a lot of the producers and writers in her life that have made that opportunity available to her. So I wanted to take the time to thank you for doing that as well and creating opportunity to everyone in the entertainment industry.
Thank you for
So
saying
thank you.
that. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Welcome.
everybody. Awesome. Good job. Well done.